Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ithurtstomom podcast. I'm Lauren Rose, and today I'm with Elizabeth Correia. She's an author, a speaker, a coach, and the founder of She Speaks. And she believes that every woman has the capacity to live an empowered, confident, and impactful life, no matter her past, her story, or what her struggles are. So, Elizabeth, tell us a little bit about your story and some of the things that you've gone through.
So I was born and raised in the projects in an extremely abusive household. And, that abuse involved everything you can think of: abuse with my father and my mom, physical, emotional abuse, the two of them towards one another, each other. My father was extremely physically abusive with her as well. And then there was a lot of abuse that we as the kids had to endure as well, the physical, emotional, sexual. Both of them were alcoholics. And that went on for a long time, right through my childhood. And my sister and I, just to kind of fast forward the story, we were taken out of the house, put into foster care. We were all separated. We lived in so many different homes. And then, my teens were also filled with abuse because I started dating this guy, when I was 14, right at the same year I went into care. And that relationship was just, really bad. It was extremely abusive, physically, emotionally, mentally. And I was also a teen mom. I ended up getting pregnant at 16, had him by the time I was 17. So it was just years and years of abuse. When I was in my early 20s, about 21, my boyfriend was actually murdered in front of me, died in my arms. And that was
Holy crap.
that was road rage. So,
Wow.
I would say that it was like probably one of the darkest times of my life, but it was also where I hit rock bottom and knew that I had to start fighting for my life. So things got worse before they got better. But I would say I was saved in the eyes of the church because I met a lady who became my spiritual mentor. And I started going to church with her. And that was really where the journey started for me, in one, healing, two, discovering my passion, and three, my purpose. So it was a journey and it took time. And that was, that was some of the pain that I felt, was that it took time. And I wasn't, I wanted it right away. I wanted my life to change right away. And I wanted things to be different right away. But we're talking, more than 20 years of pain that I had to heal through. So I had to be patient in the process. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I'm currently, I live with chronic pain, as do most of my listeners. And I've recently started realizing that some of my chronic pain might be due to different abuse that I've endured also and survived. So I'm working through that process of healing. And yes, I want it to happen sooner rather than later. I'd love to wake up tomorrow and feel emotionally healthy and physically healthy, but I know it's a journey and a process and it's going to take time too. So
Yeah. And it's
it
interesting that you
stinks.
say that because I had emergency brain surgery, and I had a brain tumor. I didn't even know I had it. The day I found out I had it was the day I had emergency brain surgery. And when my neurologist told me just a couple of weeks later that I had it since I was a little girl, it was mind blowing for me, because I thought of what I endured as a little girl, what I went through, and what I was feeding that tumor. And I couldn't help but think, was it the pain and the stress and the sadness and the brokenness and the anger and all these negative emotions that created this tumor? So it was, it's just interesting to see, witness and know the effects of stress, yeah.
Yeah, it does all sorts of things to our bodies. I
Yeah,
don't even think we realize everything it does to our bodies. So yeah, it's
no,
an interesting
no.
thought about your tumors. So at what point did you decide to just rise above all of these circumstances and reinvent yourself?
So there was two different times in my life where that happened. So the first was while I was in church for, over 10 years, healing, right through my 20s. that, you know, his death really just pushed me to go find help and do something, and try to get some kind of understanding of everything that had happened to me from childhood up until that point. And so that in itself was a healing journey for me. And it wasn't one specific thing that helped me along that journey. It was a number of things. It was changing my environment. It was, you know, finding a community. It was, you know, now I've got a mentor, someone who's walking me through this process, this healing journey. It was new friends. So it was a number of things. It was going back to school. It was studying. It was taking courses, reading a lot. So it was a number of things and not just one thing. And then I got married in my early 30s, and that ended. I mean, that, you know, we are separated, divorced. And then so a couple years after my divorce, the brain surgery happened. And then that was the second phase, in where it was I was just entering into a whole other dimension and a whole other realm and a whole other level of healing. So it was two different times. It was in my 20s, and then it was in my mid 30s after brain surgery.
Okay. So why did you decide to use your experiences to help other women?
I didn't go looking for this. I always say, I didn't go looking to be an entrepreneur. I didn't go, you know, wasn't something that I found on purpose. Like, oh, no, it was during that time in my early 20s, while in church, sharing my story and, you know, using it to contribute to the healing of the other ladies and the other young girls who were in the space, who were attending workshops, who were attending these events. You know, God was using me to use my story to impact and influence and help restore hope in some of these young girls or young women who had just given up. So I discovered a passion for that. I was passionate about, you know, connecting with young people and using my story to inspire them, to empower them. You know, hey, I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I've been where you are, and I'm just a couple steps ahead, and this is what I did, and this is how I did it. So I was super passionate about it. I was doing it for free. I was doing it because it was also a part of my own healing, and it gave me a sense of belonging and of purpose. You know, they say, Tony Robbins once, and he says it often, if you want to heal through something, help someone else go through their own healing. Volunteer at an animal shelter, volunteer at a youth organization. So that's what I did. And I did a lot of volunteering, a lot. Food banks, youth shelters. Like, I was always volunteering my time for others. And that was where I realized I wanted to do it full time. I didn't want to just do it volunteering or just, you know, oh, I've got some time, or I wanted to turn my passion into my purpose. And I knew it was my purpose. I knew that. And that's what I did. I started speaking, and at first I was speaking, you know, pro bono, and then I was charging a small fee, and, you know, we're talking like 10 years ago. And then I registered my business, and I started hosting my own women's empowerment events, and it just grew from there. It really started, the speaking part really took off. Like, after brain surgery, I knew that I wanted to do this full time, and I knew that it was going to take time to, you know, build a successful speaking business. But it was after brain surgery where I knew for certain that it was what I wanted and what I wanted to do and was called to do. So I wrote and published my memoir, which is right here. It's almost 400 pages. And this was what really gave birth to the speaking business. Because I published that 3 months after my brain surgery, but the book was already written. It was already written. It was just sitting there. I hadn't published it yet, though. So the brain surgery in the last 10 years of my life isn't even in the book. But it was the brain surgery that pushed me to finally put it out there. And then when I put it out there, it got a lot of media attention. And I think it was a combination of my childhood story and the brain surgery that got the media attention. So that's how it happened. And then the book got into the hands of teachers and educators and event planners, and then it was just like a ripple effect. It happened
Yeah.
so fast. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I love what you were saying about your purpose. So I had to stop working 5.5 years ago because of my chronic pain. It just got too bad. And for 2 years, I was in a really dark depression, trying to figure out what my purpose in life was. Now that I don't have this awesome career, I can't prove myself on, the career front, job front. What is my purpose in life? And I
Mhm.
thought, well, maybe my purpose in life is to take care of my family. But I was in so much pain, I couldn't even do that very well. So I found a lot of just joy myself in going to different forums for people who have chronic pain, anxiety, depression, trauma, and finding ways to encourage them. So that's why I started It Hurts to Mom as well, just because it was bringing me joy to try to be there and help other people. So I
Mm.
think that's beautiful, everything you said.
Yeah. And we don't always, it kind of sucks because we don't always know, like, or understand, like, okay, so I got to go through this pain to fulfill my
Yeah,
purpose.
right.
Like, but it's just, it is the way it is, and I believe your pain is the birthing place of your passion and purpose. I do believe that.
Yeah, I decided that I refuse to believe that I'm not going through this physical pain and then I didn't go through all of my abuse and trauma for just no reason.
Mhm.
I refuse to believe that there has to be a bigger reason, a bigger purpose, something that God wants me to do with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's why I do this. Um, yeah, you're a speaker, you run a business, and like you said, you've even written a book. What motivates you every day?
My legacy, what motivates me every
Mm,
day is what I'm building and the people that I'm impacting, and then what I'm leaving behind. So
mhm.
I'm at that place or stage in my life where it really is about legacy, and it really is about the generations to come after me, after I'm long gone. It really is. I What motivates me is knowing that I'm doing my part, and it's a tiny little piece of this world puzzle. It's a
Yeah,
tiny little piece of this puzzle, but it matters, and it
mhm.
makes a difference. And I promised myself that when I was growing up for years, I promised myself that I would be the voice for the voiceless, that
Mm.
I would use my story to contribute to the healing of the world, one person at a time. So that's what motivates me. And because I love it so much, I wake up with that passion every day.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So you talked about, being healed through the church. How has your faith in God been involved in your transformation?
It's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything, because I know exactly where I'd be if I had not found God and I had not been saved in the eyes of the church. I know what I was feeling. I know what I was doing. I know how dark it was where I was living at the time. And I know how hard, if not impossible, it would have
Mm.
been had I not found God. I can't even imagine, what would have really happened in my life, because I was definitely going down the wrong direction. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder how people even get through
How,
things like trauma and
yeah,
distress and tragedy without a
yeah.
relationship with
But they
God.
don't.
I
They
don't know.
don't. They mask it,
Yeah.
but they don't. There's no way. Yeah.
So what are some ways that we can start healing from past trauma?
For me, there were three things for me that really was key in my healing,
Mhm.
and still is in my life. And that is, number one, forgiveness. You
Mm.
know, it is crucial for your well-being. Crucial. If you do not forgive, you are walking around with all types of cuts and wounds and scars
Mm.
that are not healed, and you're just carrying that around, and it's going to go with you into your relationships. It's going to work with you. It wakes up with you. It goes to sleep with you. Like you are literally bleeding internally. And until you deal with that, and that's also something you have to be patient with as well. But if you are intentional about it, and you know, okay, I've got to forgive and let this go because it's killing me. And we know when there's unforgiveness in our hearts. We know that because it's there. It doesn't, you don't get to leave it at home. You don't get to put it on the side of the bed when you go to sleep. It's always in you.
Yeah.
And so if you don't let that go, it will cripple you and it will destroy you and kill you. And so you're constantly feeling like you can't do something. You got all these triggers. You know, people will trigger you. What they say will trigger you. What they do will trigger you. It's like all these triggers that are caused from unforgiveness. So it's crippling, and it's like poison. It's not worth it. So you have to be intentional about letting it go. Read about it, study about it, you know, really pray for it, because until you forgive, you will not be free, period. And again, you can ask it, but it's always there, right? So that is definitely the first thing I'd say. And the second thing is to find a community, find a group. And these people don't have to be your best friends. And I think that's where, you know, when you find yourself being extremely needy with someone, if they don't give you all their time, if they're not always available, again, that means you got a lot of healing to do, right? Finding a group of women or an organization or a program to join and be a part of doesn't mean that these people are going to be at your beck and call. It doesn't mean that these people are going to be like all over you and on you. No, it means they're there to support you. So find a group of people that you can be, you know, a circle of women that you can be a part of, that you can share with, that you can, you know, give and receive from as well. You know, like there's so much healing that happens in these women's circles and in these groups. And so find one in your organization, in your community, find one online. If you're more of an in-person kind of person, there's meetup.com, where there's a whole bunch of meetups happening in all parts of the world. So find one there. And the third thing would be storytelling. Start to share your story. Not so much of a place of victim all the time. You are going to go through phases in your story, but if you find that you're stuck in the complaining phase, then you've got some work to do, because the complaining is phase one, and from phase one you go to phase two, phase three, right? There's phases to this. But if you're constantly complaining, constantly, you know, putting it on the people around you, you know, and you're not trying to figure out the solution. Like I can only, and I will only tolerate so much of that from friends and family. Like, you've been complaining to me about this for a month straight. Now you're affecting me, and that's not fair. Now I'm going to make you take responsibility for what you're trying to put on me. I'm here to help you, but I want to come up with a solution. Because this is not just, you know, killing you. Now you're killing us, the people around you. So let's move from complaining to solution. So, you know, you've got to tell your story in a sense, in a way of, share your story in a way of, I'm healing. Not, I'm still here 5 years later. Oh my God, 2 years later. No, you and the people who are around you, if they're true friends and family, they're not going to entertain that,
right?
Unless they're also in a pit, and they're also, you know, stressed out about their life, and they need someone to be stressed out with them. And hey, let's just be broken here together. And that's not the way it's supposed to be, because there's no healing in that. You know, there's no healing in that. And if those are the kind of friends and people you have around you, then you need to find a new circle of friends, because that's not what friends do. Friends are here. I'm here to listen. I will sympathize with you. We'll go through that phase, but then there's going to be a time where I'm going to say, look, it stops here. What are we going to do about it? So, you know, I think those three things is the forgiveness, finding a group, a community to belong to, and then storytelling, the power of storytelling.
I think those are great. And just to touch on each one of those really quickly, first, the forgiveness. I have struggled with forgiveness for a long time because I didn't understand what it meant. Like, how do you know when you've forgiven somebody, right? So there's this great book by Lisa Turkhurst. It just came out last year, I believe. It's called Forgiving What You Can't Forget.
Oh,
And
Lisa,
there's, yeah, Lysa, and then Terkeurst.
and it's Forgiving What You Can't Forget. That's awesome.
Isn't that a good title? I love it.
Yeah.
And, it walks you through, exactly what forgiveness is. So forgiveness is not deciding or saying to yourself or others what that person did is okay, right? Because what they did wasn't okay.
No.
But instead, it's finding that you're, willing to let go of the anger and the resentment. And, maybe that means, they're out of your life. Maybe it doesn't. It depends on the situation. But, even having compassion for that person, like I hated my dad my entire life, but the last 2 years as he was dying from brain tumors, coincidentally, um, I started just having more compassion for him. And when he died, I am so happy to say that I didn't hate him the day that he died.
Yeah.
And so letting go of all of that anger, and yes, still thinking of some of the stuff he does, sure, it still hurts me, but I don't have the anger and the resentment for him that I did
Yeah.
before I was able to forgive him. And
Oh,
on
that's so
your,
powerful.
yeah, it's a great book. There's a workbook, there's a journal, there's three
Oh,
different books you can buy. If you just want to buy the book, I highly recommend it.
oh.
It's one of her books that changed my life completely.
Wow, it's
Um,
interesting because I actually have a forgiveness mini course that I
oh
launched
yeah.
last month. Yeah. Yeah. And it's so powerful because I've been studying, on the topic of forgiveness for so many years because it was
Mhm.
really important for me to release and be free. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard, sermons on forgiveness and read things, but all they do is tell you to forgive and why it's important. They don't tell you how to do that or what that means. And
Hmm.
this book is great about going through those two processes. So I love it. And then as far as friends go, I love the idea of having a community. And we should all remember that, one person can't be everything to you. So when you've got this group of women, one can be your encouraging friend. One can be your, kind of knock you over the head, tell you the truth friend. One can be your caregiving friend. Friends are going to provide different things because of their different spiritual gifts, right? So I think that's great to have a community of women that can provide different things for you.
Yes. Yes. It really is. Yeah. I can't imagine my life even today without community.
Hmm.
That
And on
old
your,
saying, it takes a village. It really does. It really does.
yeah. And then on your third point, the storytelling, but not forgiveness, or not a victim mentality. That's where I go. I call like going from a victim mentality to a survivor mentality. So when I talk about my abuse, I don't say I'm a victim of physical abuse. I was a victim of, sexual abuse. I say I'm a survivor of those things. It's a whole different mindset, right?
I'm going to give you something extra to add to that. So
Please.
I used to say I'm a survivor. And, however, we are more than just survivors.
Hmm.
So when you move from victim, when you're in victim mode, you're a victim. When you heal into the survivor mode, I call it just surviving. So there's
Oh,
got to be a goal from moving from survivor to victor.
oh, I love it.
Yes. Because when you're a victor, you are making a difference. You are creating change in the world. You are doing something with what you went through, what you
Mhm.
overcame, what you survived through. And that is when that's like the soaring stage, which is what we're doing. We are creating change in the world. We're using our story. We're creating
Right.
platforms. So, survivors are just surviving. They're not in victim mode. They're not in that
Right.
pain. But they're I used to say, I'm just surviving. I want more. Like, I want
Mhm.
more. So I moved from from victim to survivor to victor.
I love it.
Yes.
That's
Yeah, right?
greatness.
Yes.
That's greatness.
Yes.
So if someone wants to discover and to fulfill their purpose in life, where do they even start?
Start by discovering your passions. Start by asking yourself, what do I enjoy watching? What do I like listening to? What kind of books do I buy? What kind of books really pique my interest? What kind of conversations am I interested in? And start there. Like your passions, the things that light you up, the things that you're interested in, they will tell you a lot about your purpose. A lot, right? If you find yourself always watching Law and Order and all these things about the criminal justice system, and you're just all the documentaries, and then maybe there's something in there that you really secretly want to do.
Yeah.
So start there. Start with your passions. And if you're currently not living through any passions, okay, go back to what you enjoyed when you were younger. Go to those things that you're constantly thinking about. I want to start this. Oh, I should do that. You're watching other people do it on social media, and you're constantly sitting there going, I wish I could do that. I kind of want to do that. And you're just drawn to this person and what they're doing and what they're talking about. I guarantee you there's something in there. There's a message in there. There's something, it's clear. You just have to be intentional with finding it.
That's great. Yeah. So what are some of the lessons that you've learned in your journey?
One of my biggest lessons is living in my truth. Living in my truth. Like, I am who I am. I'm going to say what I want to say with respect, without putting anyone down, or, I'm going to speak up for myself. I'm going to live in my truth, because living a lie, like what I did for so many years, is painful. It's painful. And it's really harming you more than anyone else.
Oh, yeah.
I've learned to live in my truth and speak up for myself, and speak also for other people, for victims and survivors. So I'm not just speaking up for myself. I'm not just standing for myself. I'm standing for the women and girls who have lost their voice, who gave up, who are hopeless. So standing in your truth, first of all, knowing your truth and standing in your truth, that was a big lesson I learned in life from living a lie for so many years.
Yeah, I'm working on that too, especially the standing up for myself part. Being a mom has helped. My mama bear could come out when it needs to protect my daughter, and sometimes to protect me, but it's still hard because I don't like, upsetting people, but it's definitely important to just, like you said, just be truthful, be authentic, be yourself.
Yeah. And the other lesson I learned also is, why passion is so crucial for life. If you are not tapped into your passions every day, even if it's for 20 minutes a day, you're living a passionless life. All you're doing is working. You're working because you get up to work to do your thing for the kids, your spouse, your partner, the house, the bills, the everything, the cooking, the cleaning. All you're doing is working. Where's the passion? And then we wonder why we're feeling depleted. We wonder why we feel sad and down and depressed. Well, where's the passion? So that was another thing too, was to always be tapped into my passion every day. Yeah.
Yeah, I know if I, get out of that and don't do something every single day, I mean, my mental health is completely affected. I just am more depressed. I'm more isolated. I'm more anxious.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, I agree. It's very important.
Yes.
What is one piece of advice that you would give to women who don't feel like they're living out their purpose?
Take time to be still with yourself and answer questions. What makes me happy? Where do I find joy? How can I make time for this? So you've got to really be intentional, because this is the thing, Lauren. Purpose is not for a select few. It's for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But are we searching? Is it important enough for you? Is it something you really, really want? Because, you know, God he's the master creator. We are like little co-creators around here. And he gives us the ideas, and he puts the visions in our spirit, in our mind, in our heart, right? He does that's a big part. And then he sits back and says, okay, what are you going to do with it? How do we meet him halfway? He's not going to magically just pick you up and put you, no, like, get up and take action. You've got these ideas. What are you doing with them? We have to do our part. So the purpose is for everyone. You got to do the work to discover what that is. And by the way, your purpose changes.
Yeah.
It changes as you change. So don't think that your purpose today has to be the purpose for the rest of your life. You could end up going to med school in your 60s and become a nurse or a doctor, right? So, you know, your purpose changes, but what is your purpose right now? What's the purpose right now? Because to think I have no purpose and I'm just existing is a total cop-out. That's you just really giving up on yourself, because there's no such thing.
Yeah, even the Bible talks about how every single one of us, you know, God had a purpose for us before we were even in the womb. So, yep, every single one of us has something we can contribute to the world to help somebody else. Absolutely.
Yeah, something that will not only help others, but to also fill you up with passion.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what purpose does. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I think if you're not, and I'm sure you agree, if you're not, you know, engaging in your passion, it is going to be nearly impossible to find what your purpose is, right?
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, do your research. You know, okay, you don't know what your purpose is, so start doing the homework. Go on YouTube and start watching videos on how to discover your purpose. Read books on how to discover your purpose. You have to do the work. You got to do the work, the internal work, the outer work. You have to do it, or it's not just gonna, it actually did come to you. When I say it's not just gonna come to you, it's there. There's thoughts in your head, there's things, but you're doubting yourself, you're questioning. You might be thinking, I'm too old, I'm too young. Oh, it's too late now. Oh, too many people are doing that. I'm not like them. Get out of your head. Yeah, get out of your head.
Those are great things that I've definitely thought about my purpose now too, you know, all of those things. So those are great. So I think you're obviously incredibly inspiring. That's why you're so successful. So where can we get more information about you and what you do?
So I'm on actually my Instagram and Facebook got hacked last month. So I just started a new Instagram, started a new Facebook, but on most platforms I can be found at Elizabeth Correia, Correia, on TikTok, LinkedIn, Elizabeth Correia, YouTube, Elizabeth Correia. And then in my Instagram profile, there's actually, I have my social tap link, which is, and in my TikTok profile as well, that link will give you access to, you know, I've got the forgiveness mini course, and then I actually have a personal transformation master course that's launching this Thursday for Black Friday. So I'm really excited, Friday for Black Friday. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
And, you know, my book, you can get the Kindle version on Amazon, or you can order the hard copy through my website under the book tab. And that's pretty much it. So everything is in the, I say the profile link in my social tab or my TikTok, because it has like all the links to everything else.
Absolutely. Yeah, go check her out. I hope some of you take some of her courses too. So you can find me at ithurtstomom.com and at ithurtstomom on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I hope you have a blessed day and that everybody uses this to find your purpose and your passion in life. Bye.
Thanks, Lauren. Bye.